So you may be a new gardener or somewhat of an experienced gardener, but never have looked at, or maybe you don't understand what all the verbiage on the back of a seed packet is. So we're going to go over what all of this means and how much you should take it for a grain of salt or how much you should actually follow it for what it actually says. So we're going to look at this. This here is some Mexican midget tomatoes. So if we come up close here, you're going to see at the top here it says pack for 2020, sale by October 31st, 2020. That's for the retail. That means that gives us some information of when it gives us information of when it was packaged. But for retailers, they have a certain time period in which they have to sell the seeds in order to be legal. That they, even though these seeds would be good in 2021 or 2022, by law, they have to get rid of the seeds by a certain time frame. Then it gives a description of what the product, what the item is in there. Gives some items of, for this here, it's an indeterminate. That's important because it will vine. It's a vine tomato. It'll take between 60 and 70 days from transplant. And that's key. A lot of times it'll say days to maturity. That will also what it means from the time you put it in the ground, not the time you started inside. So then we have some starting information and growing information, spacing. Start these about 6 weeks before your last average frost date. The different people will say 6 to 8 weeks is fine. Days to germination, 7 to 14, which is good, so you know what's going on there. Planting spacing outdoors, it says 24 to 36 inches apart. Now, some people follow that true and true, every 2 foot or every 3 foot. Really based on your experience. If you're a new gardener, you don't have that experience. When we do a Florida weave technique, we plant them about 18 inches apart. We can pack about 30 plants in about a 40 square foot bed. So we can pack them in tight. Otherwise, we do try to space them about 20 to 24 inches. And supporting of a cage, a stake, or a trellis is needed for this. So let's take a look at a different one here. Let's fennel. We can start fennel. We can grow fennel. It gives the same information. However, instructions of sowing, we'll go back to the tomatoes. It says instructions of sowing. Sow seeds indoors 1/4 inch deep. Tomatoes are sensitive to frost and do not need to be transplanted outside after all danger of frost has occurred and during full sun, in full sun. Where'd the beets go? I've got some beets here. Here we go, beets. On this one, it says sow outdoors as soon as the soil can be worked. Seeds will germinate in 5 to 10 days. Plant 2 weeks intervals for steady harvest throughout the season. So on the Seed Saver Exchange packages, it's the same verbiage, just different for the type of seed. Now, all the tomato packages are going to say basically the same information, with the exception of indeterminate or determinate. Beets and some of the root crops are going to be the same. Now, if you get a different type of package, it may provide you a map. And then you can gauge on the color of the geographical area you are in when to plant. Like for, these are beets here. So let's say you're in Dallas, Texas. You can plant February to March, and then you can plant August through October and harvest. Beets take about 65 to 75 days. If you're in the northern climates like Bismarck, North Dakota, you're going to plant these April to May, which if you're in Bismarck, North Dakota, or you're in Wisconsin or Nebraska or somewhere in there, there's a lot of times between April and May that you still got quite a bit of snow on the ground. So it's kind of a guideline, so you kind of want to be aware of what you're planting and when you're planting. But just some information on the back of the seed packet that is important to know, to take it for a grain of salt on some, and then also do your research on other, if you can plant it tighter or farther apart. So just some things to keep in mind whenever you're getting your seeds ready for planting this growing season.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.